I'm taking the reading from the very beginning of the book because the plot twists and turns a little, and if I go too far in, I might give too much away. So this is how it all begins. They could have been anyone. They could have chosen to come at a different time, or on a different day, or even to a different beach. It was chance that made them swing their four-wheel drive vehicle off the narrow lane and onto the sand dunes at that precise location. Lashed to the Range Rover's roof rack was a robust orange dinghy and a pair of oars. In the back of the car was a tackle box and two state-of-the-art rods. But the men weren't fishermen. The local newspaper would call them guardian angels, but their real-life occupations were more prosaic. They were doctors. They'd left their warm beds and sleeping wives in their luxury holiday rental and crept through the darkened house like excited schoolboys, hell-bent on adventure. Dr. Adam Banner, A&E consultant, was behind the wheel. He was grinning as he sipped hot coffee from a thermos and drove over the rippled sand towards the water's edge. Beside him, Dr. Philip Digby, consultant anaesthetist and highly competitive angler, was proposing a wager over who was likely to catch the most fish that morning, when he caught a glimpse of something in the headlight beams. Hang on a sec, what was that? With one foot already moving from accelerator to brake, Adam took his eyes from the deserted sand dunes and turned to his passenger and oldest friend beside him. What was what? Phil shook his head, craning forward in his seat to peer through the inky black expanse of sand and sea, broken only by the line of frothy white surf where water and shore collided. There was something way over there, to the left, by the mudflats. Adam slowed the car and stared into the darkness. What kind of a something? He asked. He shivered involuntarily, remembering the warning a local old-timer had given in the pub just the night before, after overhearing their fishing plans. You need to mind where you go walking on them mudflats, the old man had advised, happily accepting the pint Adam had offered him. Seen 'em suck a man down right up to his waist. Phil was frowning. I'm not sure what it was. It looked like a bundle of material or something. It's probably just an old ripped sail, washed up by the tide, Adam replied. But even so, he was already turning the car in a slow circle, trying to capture whatever it was Phil believed he'd seen in his headlights. There, Phil cried triumphantly. On the periphery of the headlight beams, perilously easy to have missed, something was flapping in the wind. It was pale and fluttered like a flag. From this distance, it looked too flimsy to be part of a thick, waxy canvas sail. It looked more like a bundled-up dust sheet. Wordlessly, Adam pointed the car towards it, feeling the consistency of the sand begin to change the closer they got to the mystery object. The car was sitting lower now, sinking into the dunes, which were sucking on the tires even on a vehicle like theirs, built for off-road terrain. The wheels were beginning to spin as they sought to find traction. And with a helpless shrug, Adam brought the car to a stop, with the object they were going to investigate squarely lit by the headlights. With unspoken agreement, the two men got out of the car and reached in unison for the heavy quilted jackets they'd thrown on the back seat. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, in late January, and neither needed a thermometer to know the temperature was well below 0. They walked swiftly and with purpose, unconsciously emulating the way they travelled the hospital corridors. Real-life doctors don't run the way they do in those TV shows, Adam had once told his wife, who was addicted to medical dramas. And after 20 years as a physician, I've never once said stat, he added, for good measure. It's bound to be just a piece of rubbish, Phil declared, tugging to free one foot from the greedy sand. If it is, you owe me a new pair of trainers, Adam said, releasing his own foot with a noisy squelch. In fact, he never got to finish his sentence, because that was the moment when he saw the woman's foot.
I think a lot of people here would be interested in how you got started, with all the success you've had recently. And can you tell us how many books you've submitted to publishers before you had your first piece?
Oh, there has to be at least 4 or 5 really horrible books that are stuck away in cupboards that never got accepted, with very good reason, and will never be brought out. I think I wrote my first book when I was about 18 or 19, trying for like the Mills and Boon sort of format, because I thought I understood. I'd read a lot of Mills and Boon books, and I thought I understood how that all worked. So I was absolutely crushed when it got rejected.
And at 18, of course, you're an expert on relationships.
Of course, yeah. I knew everything about life at 18. But I wrote several throughout the years, but never really persisted the way I should have done. I now would give people completely different advice, and if you get rejected, get feedback, try again, maybe not with that book. Sometimes a book just doesn't hit the right mark. But I gave up for years at a time and then would try another book, get another idea. And it took a while before eventually I hit on a book that I thought felt different, and felt that this one, could actually stand a chance. And I did it differently. The time that I was actually accepted, I sent it to agents rather than sending direct to publishers, which is what I'd done initially, which was, now that I have a better understanding of the industry, publishers very rarely accept manuscripts from unagented authors. So it's, in my naivety when I was younger, I thought, well, I didn't really want an agent because they're going to take 10 or 15% of whatever I earn. Why would I do that? I'll just send it myself. But obviously, hindsight's a brilliant thing, and you realize now, that the agent will actually be sending it to the right people. It'll land on the right desk. It will, if it gets rejected, it's not because it didn't reach the right pair of hands. So yes, agents are.
You would recommend agents to any aspiring authors out there?
I definitely would. They're more than just somebody who'll be taking a cut. My own agent is actually an ex-editor, which is very, very useful because she will work with her authors on the editorial process before the book is even sent out, so it's as polished and has the best chance that it could possibly have.
I've seen you said before that you don't, you're aware of your major plot points in your books, but you don't plan them meticulously. So does your characters' journeys ever surprise you while you're actually writing them? Do they take a turn that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, they can do. Obviously, when you're writing for your publisher, you've had to submit a synopsis, so that you have an outline of where your book is going to go. And when you sit down to write that, I can normally say in advance what the end of the book will be. In pretty much every book I've written, I could have written the last chapter before I wrote the first, because I know where I'm going. I know where it will start. But that bit in the middle is kind of unknown, a bit scary. I've likened it to driving in the dark without your lights on, which is not something you should ever do. But I liked the story to unfold for me almost in the same way that it will for a reader, because that way it's fresh and it's almost organic.
Is it quite a disciplined process? Do you start writing at the same time every day? Or?
I'm totally not disciplined at all. I'm shocking. I used to do this around my day job, and I was much more disciplined then when time was less easily available. So I worked for a school, so I would write in the school holidays. Then I cut down my hours and worked part-time, and the days that I wasn't working in school were definite writing days where I was very structured, very disciplined. And then I gave up work to do this full-time, and it just all went out the window. I have no idea how I spend my days, but my husband will frequently come home and find there's Facebook up on the screen, eBay's up on the screen, all sorts of things and nonsense is up there instead of the work in progress. I thought it would be like a 9 to 5, but it turns out I'm much more productive in the afternoon. So yeah. I'll do the morning. I might read through what I've done the day before in the morning, but I'll just do admin kind of things. There's a lot of that. As being social media is more important than I ever realised before I became an author. It's a lovely way to connect with readers. Nobody writes fan mails or, writes to you letters, but you connect with the same people on Facebook or Twitter, as it was, or Instagram, and it really is a lovely way of feeding back. And obviously, well, when the books are out and you get to read the reviews that they're posting, there's an immediacy to it, and there's nothing better than reading a review from someone that's just finished the book, just closed it, and just said, I'm writing this and there's tears rolling down my face. And I'm thinking, well, that's so nice, that. Or somebody will say, I was up until 2 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't put your book down. I had to finish it. So that's nice.
Because you obviously have a lot of ideas internally in your head, are you at the same time sort of formulating what your next project's going to be? You mentioned that the agent offered you a 2-book deal.
Yes.
So that leads me to think, is it like you've got sort of one on the go and you've got another one?
It would be lovely if that was the case. There are plenty of authors who do that, and I've spoken to people and say, I've got so many ideas for books in my head, and I just want to smack them. I really do, because I don't have that. I'm a one at a time, person.
So you finish it and then it's blank canvas.
It's blank canvas. I'm absolutely impossible to live with until the next plot has sort of been, pinned down and worked out. So yes, I would love to have had a second book. The first time I heard it, I got a 2-book deal, and they said, and what will be the next book? And I said, I have no idea. I have no. It kind of was, once you've signed with a publisher, it takes you down a path, because the genre you're going to be writing in. So it's not like I've said, well, I'm going to write something that's set in outer space or anything. I will be able to say, well, it's going to be an emotional drama. There's going to be some sort of tragedy, because a lot of my books will have a tragic event that happens at the beginning, something life-altering or changing, where, fate seems to step in and the characters are then taken down a different route than they might have thought they were going to go down. But it is always, for me, that hardest part, getting the idea in my head, and you're focused on that one. Once it's there and you know what you're writing, because I don't write particularly quickly, and it takes me about a year, so it's very comforting once that is set, and I know, okay, these are the people that I'm going to be living with in my head for the next year, and this is the story that I'm going to be settled with. But I heard somebody once say that Amanda Prowse, who writes similar-ish books to me, but she has been known to send her book off that she's finished with in the morning to the publisher and start the new one in the afternoon. And I've never met her, but I almost don't want to now, because I don't think I'll like her very much. But yet some people have that many ideas, more ideas than they can ever use. And I really feel they should share them around. That would be much nicer.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dani. Thank you.